Welcome back to BLOCKTV. My name is Zachy Hennessy, and today I'm here to tell you about something interesting. Now, the cryptosphere has no shortage of games, but the latest talk of the town is Cryptoinks, a platform that allows players to buy, train, and race digital pigs in exchange for in-game currency and other goods. Now, Cryptoinks is working recently with Convergence 4D to bring their 3D pigs to physical arcade and gaming centers in Singapore before launching worldwide. And with me today to talk about that is Darwin Kurniawan from Singapore and the director of Cryptoinks, and Andrew Prell, founder and CEO of Convergence 4D. How you doing, guys?
Hello.
Okay, cool. So, Darwin, I want to start off with you. Just explain to me a little bit about the game and how it works.
Okay, first of all, Jack, actually, the way we call the game is actually Cryptoink without the S. Okay. So it's Cryptoink. Well, the game revolves around, first of all, choosing your first kid digital pig, which we call Krypton, based off its parameters or mere appearance. However, each and every Krypton is very unique in itself. From there, you can actually train your Krypton, and you can also, put it up on a racetrack within Krypton racing, and you can actually race other players on the track. And of course, you win race, you win some prizes, and the cycle goes on.
Okay, interesting, fascinating. Okay, and how long has the game been in development?
Well, it's been in development for 2 years or so. Okay. Of course, right now we have launched it. We have real players on that, so it's live right now. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was taking a look at the platform. It looks great, and I gotta say the aesthetic style is very cute. It's right up my alley. Now, Darwin, I have to ask, what was the reasoning behind teaming up with Convergence 4D? And we're gonna go into that, what you guys do over at Convergence in a moment. But explain to me just a little bit about the reasoning behind the team up, the partnership. Well, as a game, we have been always looking for new ways to get more players, basically expand our user base. And we know that, being a digital game, expanding into a new target market, which is in a physical world, that's really one of the toughest things that we can do, that we hope to do. So I guess partnering up with Convergence 4D is one of the best way to actually do that, because we are bringing this NFT, the non-fungible tokens, immediately right to the person's alley. I guess we're hoping we can get more acceptance that way.
Okay, interesting. Now, Andrew, why don't you take a moment and just express to me what you guys do over at Convergence 4D, and what you hope to bring to the table in this partnership.
Well, we're just in the process of releasing a player acquisition engine that works off of the prize nexus in the video arcades, our trade binder, which is your digital wallet to leave the arcade with the assets, and our online marketplace and trade zone. So what we figured out, we've got a history in the video game space that goes all the way back to the original Atari, Nintendo, Namco, and Sega. And what we figured out very quickly is non-fungible tokens, crypto collectibles. The blockchain is the first time that video game assets can live outside the video game and be traded. So immediately we went to our out-of-home entertainment roots, the arcades, and realized that people are trading tickets for prizes that suck. And we see video game assets as prizes that don't suck. So that's where we're coming in, is we are competing against the physical prizes in arcades with digital assets, like the Krypton from Cryptoink is just phenomenal. I mean, I'm from Kentucky, and as we were discussing before we got on here, is pig racing is a thing in Kentucky. I mean, so this is pretty interesting. We like it. We like it a lot.
Okay, fascinating. So, I mean, as an avid gamer myself, I'm very interested in hearing a little bit more about the game itself. So, talk to me a little bit about the gameplay loop of Cryptoink. So, what will the players' experience with the game be, and what will they mostly spend their time doing with the game?
Right. So first of all, you got to choose or buy your first pick basically. So you can either choose from its appearance or you can focus on its stats. From there, you can basically train and raise your Krypton. You basically have to keep doing that. Basically, every time you train, you increase their stats. You level up their stats. They have like three main stats, which is speed, power, and stamina, and they plays out differently in the race itself. So the more you train and the more you race, essentially your picks get better and better, and then you'll be able to win more races. Another interesting aspect of the whole thing is that you can actually breed your picks. So if you end up with a very rare skill set, for example, and then you feel that there's a market demand for this particular skill set, you can actually, in a way, put up your picks for rent, quote unquote, to become a breeding partner for other players. So that's one of the possible way on how you can actually, gain more in terms of the game itself. So, repeat doing that. You hunt for rarer Krypton, rarer skill sets, and then become better.
Sure.
That's how everybody do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you emphasize, both of you actually emphasize the individuality of each of these Kryptons, the pigs that you can buy and train. Perhaps Andrew can speak to this, but how does that translate into the physical world in regards to what Convergence is adding to the value proposition?
Well, if I can share our screen real quick, I'll just kind of walk through a few points there.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, this is the team, and again, I said we go back to original Atari, Nintendo, Namco, Sega, guys that built the Xbox ecosystem, third-party ecosystem, 26 of the top-selling AAA titles. So we can add a lot of depth in our experience to help them out. But what we honed in on is the old model is people spend a phenomenal amount of money marketing their games to get player acquisition. Like Game of War spent somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000 to build their cell phone app and $44 million to acquire players to make it one of the top sellers. Now that video game assets, I should put a Krypton here instead of a CryptoKitty. I will have to change my slide deck for that. But now that they live outside the games, if you give them an asset and they'll look into the game, they're more likely to download and play the game. So then the question becomes, where do you find a ready supply of players that are willing to get, to hand out these assets? And when you look at the other side of our equation, the out-of-home entertainment industry, there are 500 million players a month that trade tickets for prizes that suck. Mm-hmm. And what we're doing is we're competing heads up with those prizes, and that's kind of where we see this coming, because you can now have your assets live outside the video game and be traded outside the video game. That's very, very impactful when you can go to the consumer game industry and remove 99% of their player acquisition costs. That's phenomenal.
Okay, so it's kind of like the next step, the modern step evolution, you could say, of like Neopets, for example, but on the blockchain, right? You're going out to these arcades, you're earning these tickets and exchanging them for a unique token that you can play with additionally. So that's interesting. So talk to me a little bit about specifically the idea of balancing your game market, right? You speak to the idea of you have these Kryptons and you can train them extensively, right, and breed them. So you have a marketplace where you can put those up for trading. How is how is Cryptoink working to balance that marketplace and ensure that it's not just a pay-to-win system? So, the more money I have, the more I can win.
Right. So, well, first of all, the racing part. If we look at what we have right now, especially referring to Andrew's slide with CryptoKitties, CryptoKitties made that, make it big before really just from the collectible side, collectible point of views. So that is really one aspect of what we actually see how it goes. When you actually, collect physical appearance, not physical, but the appearance of the Krypton itself, and the rarer it is, the more value it can become. I think in itself that attract a different set of players. And when we actually introduce these racing games, of course we're trying to actually bring more value of these NFTs that people already owns. So of course we can actually have people spend to buy some items to actually train your pigs, train your Krypton to make it better. But of course there's a limit to it. Like for example, there's a limit to how you can actually use an items for a short period of time. So I guess that is how we actually manage, to not have this just a pay-to-win kind of games.
If I may chime in on that, from our perspective and everything we've seen from the games, it looks like it's as much about the training, and when you have a game, you want them to be on it as much as possible. So here it's all about training your Krypton. And the more you work it out, the more times you race it, the better it becomes. And that's how I see that it's more of a play to get better than a pay to get better, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so you speak, again, going back to you, Andrew, you speak about the bring them into the physical space, right? So let's say that I go to an arcade, I play a game, and I get my money, or my tickets rather, and I can take that to an exchange system, a booth of some kind, I'm sure, and then exchange that for a Krypton. What physical item do I have in order to represent that Krypton?
When you say physical item, let me jump back over here, and we're doing player acquisition as a service. The kiosk will be something like our robot over here is our prize nexus. There'll be a touch screen interface with some shroud or closure to bring you over to it and interact with. But you're walking out with a digital item on your cell phone, on your trade binder. And to us, players can understand a trade binder better than a digital wallet. It's kind of one and the same, but a trade binder, people are used to like Pokemon cards and Magic the Gathering cards, taking that to school in their binder and trading back and forth. And non-fungible tokens or crypto collectibles are just like cards being traded back and forth outside the game. So the physical, you don't have an actual physical item here. You have your digital item for your game that is the collectible that you want.
I see. Okay, and Darvin, one question for you: how much would you say the idea of luck plays into the gameplay itself?
The big part of the game is the random aspect of the racing itself. Like for example, every pigs have its own preference, like its weather. That's one aspect of the game. And then, of course, when you actually enter a race, these things are randomized. So the big part of it is luck, quote unquote. But of course, you can mitigate that luck better when you have better skill set, and also you have better items, for example, or we call badges. So these badges are like an item to augment, to be equipped, so to speak, to your Cryptoinks. So it's also part strategy, right? So if you just like let's say Formula One races, if it's a wet track, you don't equip your Formula One with a dry tire, for example. So this is very similar like that in terms of analogy. Like if you equip your pigs to race in a wet track, for example, and it happens that it's a dry track, then it's too bad for you. You don't really get that advantage from your items or your equipment.
Okay, fascinating. So, I mean, from what I can tell, it seems like it's going to be a great partnership, and it's super cool to finally have a kind of way to bring physical gaming and digital gaming together in such a unique way. So I thank you guys for coming on and telling me about what you're doing, and I wish you the best of luck. And for all of you watching, this is BLOCKTV, and we've got plenty more cool information coming your way, so keep it locked. For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.